Discovering my mother-in-law's true colors after marriage. The kind mother-in-law I thought I knew turned out to be a mother-in-law who tormented me, trying to drive me out like a scheming mother-in-law. During such times, I overheard that my husband Samuel was having an affair. The mother-in-law who ostracized me seized the opportunity to kick me out of the house. Will I be able to deliver justice to the harassing mother-in-law? I've had my share of troubles with a mother-in-law who harasses her daughter-in-law, and I'd like to share my story, if you're interested. My name is Samantha. I'm 34 years old, married to Samuel for 2 years now. I got married at 32, considered past the typical marrying age. Samuel and I tied the knot after a year of dating. Initially, I lived in the urban area with my sister, but after marrying, I moved to a rural city where Samuel's parents' house is. Therefore, neither my parents nor Samuel's parents have ever met. Currently, we live just a 5 minutes walk from Samuel's parents' house, renting a place. This house is part of an apartment owned by father-in-law Kent, who rents it to us. Even after 2 years of marriage, Samuel and I are very close, and I believe he's my soulmate. However, Samuel often travels for work and is rarely at home. During such times, mother-in-law frequently visits our home while Samuel is away. Samuel's mother, Susan, loves to torment me, her daughter-in-law. When will you have a grandchild? A woman's time is short, you know. Maybe you have a year left? Yes, Samuel and I have been talking about having children soon. Don't be so carefree. Have one by next year. That's the only way you can stay in this house. Susan visits daily, pressing me to produce an heir. There's nothing I can do about Samuel's absence, and after all, children are a blessing. Young girls can pop them out easily. Why did he marry such a plain, older lady? I don't know what to say to that. Who does Samuel take after? It must be Kendrick, of course. That's the problem with not being discerning. Kendrick, mentioned by Susan, is my step-grandfather. Step-grandfather is alive and lives about 40 minutes away from the in-laws' house. Originally, the in-laws' house was his property, which he transferred to Kent. I've heard step-grandfather went against his parents' wishes and married step-grandmother. The reason being that he was from a noble family, and arranged marriages were the norm then, and he was betrothed. But step-grandfather chose to marry for love, the woman he loved. And from that union came Kent. Kent is also flexible and kind in his demeanor. Why would such a gentle man marry Susan? In the past, I remember Samuel murmuring something about being deceived. Given it's Samuel's family, I hesitate to pry too much and stop digging deeper. Susan is a housewife with plenty of time since her children are independent. I work fully remotely and am mostly at home, probably a good pastime for her. I've been trying to let her harassment slide, thinking this way. If you can't produce a child by next year, I'll force a divorce. That's terrible. I have no plans of divorcing. Don't defy me. You must bear a firstborn son. Susan seems to hold traditional views, insisting that the eldest son's daughter-in-law must produce a male heir. Well, before that, I hope Samuel doesn't grow tired of you. Is it normal for him to be away this long? He travels for work. It's unavoidable. Kent never did such. Maybe he's with another woman under the guise of work. Susan smirked maliciously. That's impossible. Even when he's on long business trips, he occasionally comes home. You think so? The more attentive they are, the more suspicious it gets. Maybe he's already looking for my new daughter-in-law. Comparing Samuel to Kent seems absurd. Kent has income from real estate inherited from step-grandfather and mostly stayed at home. In contrast, Samuel works in finance, wanting to study more about the global economy, hence the frequent business trips, a concept foreign to Susan. Her harassment continued, and I was mentally exhausted. Susan wasn't always so aggressive towards me. When Samuel and I were dating, I visited his parents' house a few times, and she was always smiling and helpful. Even when we announced our marriage, she was the first to congratulate us. Thinking back, maybe she was kind because Samuel was always there. One day, as usual, the doorbell rang, and it was Susan, full of smiles. "Susan, you seem to be in a good mood today." "Oh, can you tell? Something wonderful happened for me." "Something wonderful?" "Are you divorcing Samuel? I heard he was seen with a younger woman. I'm excited for a new daughter-in-law." "What? What do you mean?" According to Susan, one of her friends spotted Samuel shopping with a young woman. Even if you didn't see it, it could be a misunderstanding. Even if it was Samuel, it could be a work colleague. My friend even secretly took pictures of them. It's definitely Samuel, and apparently she's from a distinguished family. Susan was already gleefully planning life after my supposed divorce. If he marries a young lady from a noble family, he'll live in a big house with maids, shopping and traveling daily in elegance. Wait, I'm not getting divorced. Still saying that? We refuse an older poor lady. We're welcoming a noble daughter as the new daughter-in-law. But you said if I have a child by next year. If there's another daughter-in-law candidate, it's different. Your demand is entirely different from a younger woman. Please leave the house quickly. Samuel agrees too. Then I'll confirm with Samuel. As I tried to contact Samuel by reaching for my mobile phone, it wasn't in my pocket, and I couldn't find it anywhere. While searching, I realized Susan had silently left. Stunned momentarily, I went outside and saw Susan returning home. What, Susan? Where did you put my mobile phone? I don't know. You must know. I searched the streets for the phone to no avail. Then, a stranger approached me, apologizing for accidentally running over my phone with their car, confirming it was mine. It was likely Susan, who had taken it out and thrown it onto the street. I was infuriated by Susan's extreme actions. Running back home, I found Susan still there. Susan, look at this. The screen is broken and it won't turn on. So what? So what? You caused this. Any proof? You don't have any right. But you were the last one with my phone. I don't know about that. Anyway, this house is our family property. You're a stranger now. Leave immediately. I'll wait for Samuel to return and discuss it. If you insist on staying, pay the rent we've been lenient on for 2 years. $12,000 up front. That's ridiculous. Can you pay? No, of course you can't, you poor thing. Fed up with Susan's rude behavior, I reached my limit. Young wealthy ladies versus older poor ladies? Who do you think is more valuable? Time for a change. Hurry up and leave. I'm busy welcoming a new daughter-in-law. Fine. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Enjoy your time with whoever that lady is. Though it was a heated exchange, I was at my wit's end. I packed quickly, leaving Susan and her smug smile behind, and left the house. Despite living there for 2 years, I didn't know where the mobile phone shop was, nor could I contact Samuel, as he changed his number a month ago, and I didn't remember it. And my parents' house was in an urban area far away. Feeling lost, I luckily ran into a friend who let me stay with them after hearing my story. They suggested calling Samuel, but I couldn't without his new number. My friend booked a mobile phone repair appointment for me, but the earliest was 2 days after Samuel's expected return from his trip. Though he was due back in 2 days, Susan claimed he had already returned, seen with another woman. I wanted to believe Samuel, but the more I thought about it, the more I doubted, feeling a deep shock. 2 days passed, and I continued my remote work, contemplating my next steps. One might think I was too relaxed, but after enduring daily harassment from Susan, I was mentally exhausted and starting to appreciate the slower pace of life. Of course, Samuel is important to me, but being away from Susan right now feels like the greatest relief. I never discussed Susan's behavior with Samuel. I didn't want to worry him or speak ill of his mother, but more importantly, until now, I've dismissed the harassment as typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict, not worth mentioning. However, the stakes are different with Samuel's alleged infidelity and Susan's eagerness for a new daughter-in-law and a divorce. My anger intensified with every remembered instance of harassment. While I was working irritably, a friend returned home. "Welcome back." As I peeked from the living room, a furious Samuel stood at the entrance. Without answering my bewildered question of his presence, he approached me with an intense look. As I was about to speak,
"What is this all about?"
he interrogated me with a firm tone. "Where were you? And is what Mom's saying true?" Confused by Samuel's words, I asked what he meant. It seems Susan told him I had an affair and left. "What are you talking about? She told me to leave because she's welcoming a younger lady as the new daughter-in-law."
"That's ridiculous. Why would that happen just because I returned from a business trip?"
After calming down, Samuel and I talked for a while. He denied any infidelity. I was more shocked at the possibility than accusatory. And if he said it wasn't true, I believed him. He explained that work finished early, so he returned 2 days ahead of schedule. Understanding that, it seems he deliberately didn't contact me for a surprise. On the day of his return, he escorted the president's daughter of his company to a cafe for a visit, which Susan's friend misconstrued as something more. He showed me conversations with the mentioned woman.
"We went to the cafe that day. Everyone looks the same with masks on, probably why Mom's friend couldn't tell. Anyway, I wasn't unfaithful."
"I see. I'm sorry for doubting you, even for a moment. But I realized something during this time away from Susan. I can't live with her anymore." I told Samuel about all the harassment from Susan. Enraged, Samuel expressed his frustration.
"Can you believe she told me you cheated? And she thinks she can manipulate everyone to her will."
Our discussion intensified, resolving to address the issue thoroughly. The next day, we went to the in-laws' house. Ringing the doorbell, Kent appeared first.
"What's going on?"
Kent looked puzzled.
"Is someone here?"
Casually walking behind Kent was Susan. Susan looked surprised to see us, but that was fleeting. She quickly put on her usual mask, greeting us with a seemingly kind smile.
Well, well, what brings you both here? Perhaps something to discuss?"
"What discussion?"
We entered the living room and sat down to begin our conversation.
"We have something important to discuss today."
"Oh, what could it be? Perhaps some good news?"
"A grandchild, perhaps." "We've decided to cut ties."
At Samuel's words, Kent furrowed his brows, confused, while Susan's expression brightened.
"Cutting ties? You two are choosing to part ways? How surprising. But perhaps it's fate. I respect your decision."
Susan responded with an exaggerated reaction.
"What are you talking about? Are you saying you're divorcing us, not just separating?"
We looked at Susan.
"No, we're cutting ties with Mom, here."
"What?"
"Huh? What do you mean?" "Mom, be honest. Why does Samantha think I'm having an affair? And I'm led to believe she's cheating on me."
Susan stayed silent at Samuel's questioning.
"Wait, I'm completely lost. Explain it more clearly."
We explained to Kent all the harassment from Susan and the misunderstanding she created.
"So when you said cutting ties, I jumped to divorce. And Susan, you've been harassing Samantha behind our backs? Trying to separate us with lies?" "That's right."
"Wait, it's not a lie. I heard Samuel was with another woman on a day he wasn't supposed to be here. And she's from a noble family, a perfect new daughter-in-law for our family. Isn't it wonderful?"
"Ah, you mean this woman?"
Samuel showed a photo.
Yes, that's exactly the woman I was told about. Young, pretty, and wealthy, perfect for a new daughter-in-law."
"Well, that's my sister."
"What? Nonsense. According to my friend, she was wearing expensive brands, a completely different world from your usual homely attire."
"So wearing brands at home makes it better?
Ha! As if someone poor like you would fit in with branded goods. I don't believe it.
Samantha's parents run a financial firm and own multiple real estates, right?
Yes, that's right.
So you're trying to convince me to accept it somehow.
No, we don't need your acceptance.
Maybe I should go to a marriage party and catch a young one myself.
To Susan's persistent nagging,
Enough already.
Kent, usually calm, raised his voice.
Lineage or age doesn't matter. Samuel married the person he loves and is living his life. It's not your place to interfere.
But if she was younger, they might have already had a child.
That's what I've been meaning to tell you. I'm 16 weeks pregnant. Susan's eyes widened at my announcement.
What? I didn't hear anything about this.
We wanted to wait until a stable period before sharing the news.
Ah, is that so? Congratulations. I'm happy about my first grandchild.
Come on, tell me already. What's the gender?
We're not sure yet.
What? Not yet? Then it must be a girl. You couldn't conceive a boy, huh? Maybe this is your last chance given your age. All that anticipation for nothing.
Really? You? Samantha, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. It's our precious grandchild.
Of course. Thank you, Kent.
Well, I just said we're not sure yet. Not that it's a girl.
What?
It seems to be a boy, actually. I just found out the gender yesterday. Ah, we'll need to start buying things then.
Wait. Why didn't you say so? How are you feeling? Any morning sickness? Any discomfort? What do you crave?
Mom, enough already. Don't you feel embarrassed switching attitudes so quickly? You know stress isn't good for pregnant women.
Right, Samantha. I'm sorry for everything. You'll forgive me, won't you?
Susan's attitude changed drastically when she found out about the child, especially that it was a boy. Forgive? There's no need, as we're cutting ties, right?
What do you mean?
Edward offered me a job to learn business under him. It's a financial firm, and I think it'll be useful for me. We'll be living near Samantha's parents' house.
Samuel stated firmly to Kent.
What? I won't allow it. How can the eldest son leave the family home?
We're not seeking your approval, Mom, and don't interfere. You should reflect on how you've treated Samantha all this time.
What? Why should I reflect? Everything I said was true.
I'm disappointed to realize what kind of person you are. Our ties end here.
What do you mean, end here?
After being told by Kent about divorce, Susan continued to wail, but his attitude remained unchanged, leaving her dejected. Kent covered the mobile phone repair costs, and thankfully the data was recovered. A week later, Samuel and I moved to the urban area where my parents' house is. Samuel is now learning business management while working under my father. As for Susan,
I had no idea you were from such a good family. I'm sorry for everything. Please answer the phone. I want to meet my grandchild, too.
Her persistence led me to ignore her until...
You're the one to blame for keeping silent. The divorce is your fault. Take responsibility and look after me.
Seeing no change in her attitude, I blocked Susan's contacts. Apparently, Susan, deprived of her outlet for boredom and stress, was furiously rampaging. She was later divorced by Kent, who mentioned possibly moving closer to us. Meanwhile, Susan struggles with part-time jobs, living alone in a small apartment. I believe it's a fitting outcome for her. Now free from the troublesome Susan, we're enjoying a stress-free life. We look forward to our baby's arrival and plan to live a peaceful life from now on.